Welcome back to Trip of Change, the Jackie Robinson Show podcast. Trip of Change is a weekly podcast hosted by Jackie Robinson and produced by Dana Bach, with some of the top thought leaders in the areas of LGBTQIA+, use of pronouns, gender identity, voting rights, intergenerational conversations, news, and feature interviews with industry leaders. Our goal is to provide listeners with key takeaways and actionable advice for having a better understanding of the people we interact with around the world. Let's start the show. Hey girl, hey.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good for a Sunday. Yes.
This week, going
yes.
podcast. Yes.
It was a very busy week, but we've got a good show lined up for today. And I'm so glad to see you all the way over there in PDX.
It's you too. Yeah.
Good to be seen.
Happy to
And
be
this
seen.
is our 10th podcast, season 4, number 10. And it is National Volunteer Month. And we will be featuring today's podcast, Julie Peterson. So we just can't wait to get Julie on board and talk about some of the fantastic things she's done as a volunteer. So this series, this particular podcast is about philanthropists and caregivers. And so we're going to be honing in on the subject of volunteer to tie into the National Volunteer Month. Isn't that right, Dana?
That's right.
That's right. So right now we want to go ahead and do our administrative things, and that is shout out to our sponsor, which is Helpful Essence, Caribbean and vegan vegetarian soul food, 875 York Street in Atlanta in the West End. They have some of the most fantastic vegan vegetarian dishes. And Dana, I talked to the owners earlier today, and they said that must be working, announcing us as sponsors, because we've had an influx of people come in to the restaurant. And I said, well, we certainly hope so. Isn't that right, Dana?
Good. That's right.
Right.
Wonderful. Yes.
And so we appreciate our listeners going out to Helpful Essence, whether you are going live and in person or ordering online. And if you order online, you can get a discount with the Clover app. Again, that's Helpful Essence, helpfulessence.com, our Trip of Change podcast sponsor. Yes, thank you, Helpful Essence. Thank you. So they were excited about us having them sponsor our podcast. And so we want to make sure that we continue to support them as they are supporting us. And so that is Helpful Essence, vegan, vegetarian, soul food restaurant, helpfulessence.com. Yes. And speaking of support, you can support Dana and I, our podcast. There's our podcast email addresses. There's Jackie@triplechange.com, and then podcast co-host and producer Dana Bach, Dana@triplechange.com. And we want you to go ahead and go out to our website, triplechange.com, sign up, get the newsletter. We've been sending out weekly newsletters, and that is getting information to our listeners ahead of time, and so they can schedule on their calendar the upcoming episodes. We also take Cash App because we are a firm believer of giving back to the community. And so we have nonprofit organizations that we contribute to. And so our Cash App, of course, is Trip of Change.
Yay.
Trip of Change. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, all Trip of Change. So
And
there you
YouTube.
go. That's
Yeah.
right, Dana. So
And now we also this week we have I got back onto LinkedIn. I had been off LinkedIn for a while because I wasn't consulting anymore. And so it's a great place to connect with the people that we want to connect with. So I am now back on LinkedIn as Dana Bach, and Jackie's on as Jackie Robinson. And you can
yes.
connect with us there too.
Absolutely. And so there will be some announcements that will be going out on LinkedIn because both of us are back on LinkedIn because I tell you what, Dana, after I retired, I felt I didn't really need LinkedIn anymore, but I still have like over 500 connections. And so it seems like a good place, a good source, a resource for us to be able to reach out to people and
Yes,
see if we can't get them on the show. Isn't that right, Dana?
that's right.
Okie dokie. And so that now brings me to our guest for today, for the National Volunteer Month featuring Julie Peterson. And so let's go ahead and bring Julie in. Hey, Julie,
Hey,
Hi.
Julie.
how
So
you
good to see you
doing?
guys.
Cooper.
Doing great. How are you?
Good, good. It's been a
Good.
long time. So good to see you.
You too. It's been way too. I'm sorry, my little dog is barking.
Tell him get in
Cooper.
on the podcast.
Yes, I know. He's chasing his tail right now. So sorry about that.
So
Well,
fun.
that's okay.
Cooper.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I met you, Julie, some years ago. It might have been 10 years
I
now.
think so.
Yeah,
Maybe.
about 10 years ago when I did that short stint out in Portland, and I met Dana, and then Dana introduced me to you, and
Mhm.
then we started hanging out, and I got a chance to see some things about Portland that I probably never would have had a chance to experience. But with the type of work that I was doing, I did kind of get a mix for on both sides of the river. But on your side of the river, I was very fortunate, Julie, for you to be able to introduce me to some of your very influential friends, and we started going to nonprofit events, and then you got me involved in volunteering and doing some things for the organizations there in Portland. So before we get into the bio and all the stuff that you've been doing, I want to share this with you. All right. Yes, we're talking with Julie Peterson. It's gratifying to reach out to pull up, and I grabbed that tagline, Julie, because knowing the things that you're doing, you are reaching out in order to pull up. Reaching a hand out, grabbing a hand to be able to pull up, and so we appreciate you for that. Now let's go back in time a little
Oh
bit.
wow.
Yes.
Look at
So
that.
fun.
Yes.
You got some good ones, Jackie.
You remember this?
Yes.
The Dream Big
Yes.
gala that we went to?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Okay. Now how about this one?
Oh yes.
Oh,
Amy
that was
Roloff.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's Amy, right?
Yep. Yep.
What was the name of her event? You remember?
Well, it's the Amy Roloff Charity Foundation. I don't remember what the name of that particular
That
event
particular
was.
team, yeah, but it was
Yeah.
Amy Roloff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. That
So
was a long time ago.
I love digital photography that you can keep it so long. This is great.
Isn't that
Yes, it is.
great?
Mm-hmm.
I had to dig back in the archives.
You
And then
did.
yes, and then this is you. We will be talking about the work that you're doing in Haiti with these beautiful young ladies. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to kind of take you back a little bit, just a little bit, Julie.
Yes.
I love
I
those
love
photos.
it.
Yes. because I think the thing of it is in being in Portland, talk about some of the things that you do, like with the mortgage. Let me say this about your the efforts that you put into the mortgage. When you
Mhm.
post the happy faces of people who have been able to buy a home,
Mhm.
it reaches other people that feel happiness for that couple, and they feel happiness for you. And I think the extra mile that you go to nurture and mature your clients into buying a home, that's to be commended. So talk about some of that and some of the other things that you're doing in the community.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I fail to post a lot of times, and I forget, the favorite part of my job. I work with all kinds of people, financing homes, but my absolute favorite buyers to work with, or customers to work with, are first time home buyers, and it's they're often a lot of work, but the reward is so great, and all I have in the back of my head is the life-changing trajectory that this puts this person on, or this family on, financially. It's the biggest step that they can take, to get to the next level in their life financially. So it's a super rewarding, lot of, like I said, it's often a lot of work, but it's the most rewarding for sure. And I love telling those stories, so I need to do it more often.
Yes,
Help
yes.
inspire somebody else who thinks that they can't buy, um, to pick up the phone and call me. That's the first step to moving in that direction.
Well, I know that this is not the subject of this particular podcast, but I know that housing prices have gone up, and for you to be able to help first-time buyers get into a home, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And I think in addition to that, you are doing stuff for the Cruiseway Rotary Club, board
Mhm.
chair for the Maurice Lucas Foundation, active supporter of Sparks of Hope, Bridge Meadows. I think is that the
Yep.
school?
Bridge Meadows is an intergenerational, multi-generational community that permanently adopts kids out of foster care and
Okay, I
incorporates
remember that one.
homeless.
We
Mhm.
went to several of those events. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, yes. Project Lemonade. Okay, is that something with Beyonce, or that's just something? Did she have a song named Lemonade?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Project Lemonade's a great, project that I'm super passionate about. It's a free store for kids that are in foster care that can go shopping 4 times a year and actually choose the clothes that they want, instead of having things given to them, something that they enjoy, they've chosen, they've tried on, it fits, and it's new, and they can show up to school feeling confident when they're in a place that's, everything else is hard.
Hmm.
That's
That's
wonderful.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Project Lemonade, the Brian Grant Foundation, the Pongo Fund. What's the
Yeah.
Pongo Fund?
The Pongo Fund is a pet food bank, and I got introduced to that. Larry Chusett, who started that, is a good friend of Howard's and has been very supportive in a lot of the, nonprofits that we've partnered with, and they provide, they're a pet food bank. They seek out people in need of homeless people, particularly, but you don't have to be homeless. Um, and they help feed those pets for people who that is their family oftentimes,
Hmm.
have that a lot of times people will choose to feed their pet over themselves, and so if they can take that burden off of that person, we can get the person the resources that they need in addition to their pets.
That's wonderful. Is that just within Portland,
It's
or is
just
it
in the Portland area. Yeah, yeah, and Larry's just done a phenomenal job, of really reaching out to the people that need this type of help, and the amount of gratitude that they see is incredible. So it really means a lot.
That is so cool.
isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So then that brings me to the, and forgive me if I mispronounce it, but the Jardin Vert de Josette.
Yes, very good.
Look at you, Jackie.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Elementary school in Port-au-Prince. Now that's
Yeah.
very interesting, given that they had a serious, very serious situation in the country, and then a lot of the things have not been rebuilt, and a lot of the people are still suffering. So tell us
Yeah.
about that humanitarian trip to Haiti.
Yeah. So, well, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, I've volunteered for, I went back looking actually since elementary school, but I love to travel, and I particularly love culture travel. And so for me, I've actually found that the opportunity to volunteer in these countries, and in really any country, because I appreciate learning about all types of cultures. And so the ability to be able to actually go and be involved in the community and interact with the local people and experience what they're experiencing on a daily basis has been by far some of the most rewarding experiences that I've had. Um, that one in particularly, talk about a trip of change, was everything a trip of change could be. And I actually met who's now become a very good friend of mine, about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. And he's from Haiti. We met at a country concert of all things. His family's from Haiti, still there. He came over, was first generation, raised in the United States. Um, and we started talking about his family's elementary school in Port-au-Prince, and he said, "Oh, we go once a year and volunteer and raise money and that kind of thing." And I just said, I just met this guy that night, and I said, if there are ever any trips coming up, I said I would love to participate. So, in 2018, we got a chance to go, and it was truly life changing, and the things that I learned about the needs of. I mean, there's so much need in Haiti. It's incredible. But education, one of the things I've realized in my travels, it's so easy, especially for me, to want to give things and do things. And I've really come to the realization that the best thing that we can give anybody is the gift of education. Um, and that country in particular is about a 50% illiteracy rate. And that kids, if they're lucky enough to go to school, a very high percentage of them will only go through fourth grade, because at that point they have to start working to
Working
help
and
earn
take care of the
income for the
family.
family.
Mhm.
And particularly for girls, they're the least chosen to attend school if there is a child that has an opportunity. So this particular school started out as a girls only school, elementary school, so it was kindergarten through fourth grade. Um, so we fundraised, we put together backpacks, all sorts of stuff to take to the kids, just so that they have supplies to start off their school year. The families pay, I want to say it was $1 to $2 a month US to be able to participate in attend school. And they've found that having some sort of an investment from the family makes them more committed to keeping the kids going to school. Um, but one of the most profound things that I honestly didn't realize the impact that having a school in a community, realizing how important it is to have the school that's in a vicinity that's close enough that they're able to get to school,
Wow.
because travel in Port-au-Prince is beyond difficult. Everything for these people is difficult, and it just made me realize how the little things that we take for granted here every single day are an absolute luxury for them. Um, so just getting from point A to point B can take you all day. So having the school in a proximity that they can attend is super important. My friend's family still lives down there. This was the property that the school is on his uncle's property, and that house crumbled in the earthquake. So instead of rebuilding the home for the family, they decided to donate the property to build a school
The
for the
school.
community. So um, the school now is there in the middle of the neighborhood. There are 3 classrooms. They've recently added a self-composting toilet, which they didn't have before. The kids eat 2 meals a day there. For some of them, that's all they get. Um, there was also a purified water system that was installed in the school. And the one thing that I didn't realize, because water and clean water is so hard to come by, this is actually a hub for the entire community to come and get clean water. So it's a part of the whole community and not just the school for the kids. So, but that was truly a life-changing experience.
A trip of change, huh, Julie?
Yes. So,
A trip of
and I can't
change.
wait to go back. But there's been so much unrest and so many things ever since we left. They just, don't seem to get a break. So it's not safe to travel right now.
Well, I know Dana's probably thinking like I'm thinking because I'm retired, okay? And so I have time. I have the freedom to be able to do things. And so,
Mhm.
again, this is part of why we're doing Trip of Change, because if it gives me an opportunity to, go with you or go with someone else to another country and be able to volunteer and do something that's edifying, and it puts more years on your life in terms of giving you peace of mind and freedom to know that you've helped other people. And so to keep us in mind, Julie, right, Dana?
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah,
would
sign me up.
Sign
love
us
to.
up.
Love to have
Sign
you.
us up. We
Yeah,
there.
I have 2
Absolutely.
volunteers recruited, so
Absolutely. I've got some other people that I know that they may go with a church organization and they'll
Mhm.
go to different places. And so I never really had a contact. So we got one now, Dana.
yeah, we
That's
did.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah.
love to have you.
And what I
Yes.
loved about the photos just that you took, and just, I mean, the the people of Haiti have been through so much
Mhm.
over decades and decades, but the bright smiles and how just the wonderful photos you had, and the people, I mean, they were so happy in your photos,
Mhm.
happy to have the help and assistance that you provided them, and what a great program to be part of.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. You want to see smiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to see smiles. And so, yeah. And so, I know, that could take a lot out of you emotionally,
Mhm.
Julie, when you're volunteering like that
Mhm.
and you see some of the things that you see. It takes a strong individual to be able to not let it affect them to the point that they're not able to, complete the task at hand or
Mhm.
whatever they happen to be there for. And so, but so then on the flip side, Julie, you got a husband, because when I was in Portland, you didn't have a husband. Okay.
That's right. That's right. And I got a good one.
Yes,
Okay.
you
So,
did.
so you got Rob and you
Yes.
got your dogs, Cooper and Indigo.
Yes.
Yes.
Cooper's a new addition to the family.
I,
Mhm.
I remember seeing on Instagram, how is he getting along?
Oh, he's doing great. He was a shy, timid little boy, but he's not anymore.
Okay, you done fell right on in there, right?
Yep. Yep.
You
He's
adjusted
a
well.
mama's boy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, I've been seeing some of your interesting camping trips in the RV. So you're doing
Yes.
RVing
We
and
like to RV.
and cooking. Okay, so I
Mhm.
think one time you did. I know what it was, Julie. It was Brussels sprouts
Oh,
with olive oil. Was it the Brussels sprouts with olive oil, or was it the brioche bread with blueberries and something on
oh,
it?
that too. Yes. Wow, you
Yes.
have a good memory.
Oh, yes, I had to make it myself, okay?
Julie goes to the farmer's market almost every week and
Yes.
picks up fresh vegetables all the time. And now I'm a vegetarian now, but are you a vegan, Julie, or are you a vegetarian?
No, I'm more vegetarian now. It's
Okay.
I did do the vegan thing for a year, and I
Yes.
have to say I felt great. And that's really what inspired me to learn to cook and to seek out local produce and
Yes.
become a really good, because I didn't want people to think that they were missing out by not eating meat at my house. So
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's definitely been an inspiration to me because the idea of when you decide to become a vegetarian, and I over times have eaten, but now I'm dedicated to it, and I'm amazed by. I mean, there's so many wonderful things to choose from and put together, and
Mhm.
spices, and I don't miss not being a vegetarian at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, and
that's
that's
great to
why
hear.
it's the food at Health for Essence.
Yes.
People come, Julie, from around the world to this restaurant here in Atlanta because a lot of times you think of vegetarian food, you think of bland, but no, there are so
Mhm.
many talented chefs that have come out, and there were chefs back then, that were making fantastic dishes, and so I
Mhm.
dabble a little bit into it. So yeah, I like vegetables. I don't fry as much food as I used
Yeah.
to.
Well,
Uh-huh.
I
And
was gonna
this
say, you gotta take me to that place when I come
Right.
Oh,
to Georgia.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it
And
sounds
and
great.
also you talk about farmers market. They have an international farmers market here in Atlanta that is huge.
Oh, wow.
And you can get some of any type of vegetables, fruits, exotic type of produce, exotic type of dishes. They've got a humongous don't show me the wine, girl. Don't show me. They got a humongous wine section, so we'll have to hang out.
Going.
I don't look. I don't have. Wait, water. I got water. Water today. So
Julie
yeah.
did a dish that was so interesting. Is it called jackfruit, Julie?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, and it tastes like almost like pork. And
it
it has
does.
texture, and then so she gave Bo the recipe, and we went to the market and got all the food, and we made it, and it's so good.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you like it, Dana.
That again, yes.
I was gonna actually make that tonight for dinner. Jackfruit tacos.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So you'll have to share the recipe.
I will.
Yeah, yes,
That would be
yes. And
great.
so farmers market, you got a husband, you got the dogs, and you're hiking and you're
Yeah.
boating. And what is wakeboarding?
Well, wakeboarding is it's on one board. I guess it's somewhat similar to kind of snowboarding, but on the water. So
Mhm.
you're strapped to one board, both feet. Um, you're going a little. You have a rope, so unlike surfing, um, and you're going about 20 miles an hour
Wow.
You,
in the
you
boat,
go
Water
down on the weight.
sports.
and it's super fun. I love it. That
Yeah,
and surfing. Yeah.
water sports. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
A little less the older I'm getting, but still fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
That happens, but you just keep at it, keep the old bones oiled up, and you'll be
I
fine.
still love it. Yeah.
no.
So, Julie, when did volunteering become a part of your life, and share why it's so important to you?
Well, I was actually thinking back here, just getting ready for this, and I really actually started volunteering in grade school at West Salem Elementary. I would take an hour of my either over lunch or an hour class and volunteer for the special needs classroom. And I it was just something that I always loved doing. Um, and I kind of got out of it until college. There were college credits that you could get in exchange for volunteering. And then I started volunteering for the Department of Human Services and the Children's, what was it called? Children's Services Division back then, and did childcare for kids whose mothers were in group therapy sessions, and the children had experienced some sort of physical or sexual abuse, or parents were struggling with addiction issues. And that was just an incredibly eye-opening experience for me to see the struggles that these kids were living with, and actually shocked at how well that they were coping on the surface. Um, and it just made me realize it seems so overwhelming. But I always, I had someone tell me once, you may be one person in the world, but you may mean the world to one person, and realizing,
Oh, I love that.
yes, it's been my favorite. And it's so true, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed by the need. Um, and for me to just focus on, if I can make a difference in one person's life, what that difference in that person's life means to the difference that they'll make in other people's lives. And it's super rewarding. It's hard. It's stressful sometimes. And like you said, it, it can make you really, really sad. And then I focus on what the change can be. Um, so yeah.
Well, it seems like there has to be a balance, because I know for myself, having done volunteer work, mainly Dana through the church, for women in Morris Brown College, or another organization called Seroptimus International. It can be time consuming. And I know for the church, it ended up I was in like 7 different organizations. And so it's easy to see in your day how much time you're spending either as a volunteer or on the things that you need to do for yourself. So, when we look at your bio and we see that you're doing hiking and boating and wakeboarding and other cooking, there has to be a balance, like,
Yeah.
because what you're talking about, it sounds very stressful. And I know a lot of times we as boomers, as retirees, we have done volunteer work for those types of organizations, but then we get to a point where we want to do more happy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the Blues Audubon Association, things that are interesting but happy. But there are other organizations that still need the need. So how do you balance that?
Well, that's a great question. And honestly, while I say it's hard, I also find that the volunteering is, so I've done so many things when it comes to nonprofits, and a lot of my efforts over the last 10 to 15 years have been fundraising for a lot of these organizations. I guess by default, somehow I ended up pretty good at it. But it wasn't really my favorite thing to do. And so I personally kind of have evolved to where I'm doing less and less of that, while nonprofits need all of those things, just like you were talking about with the tents. You can't do one without the other. So everyone has an important role, in my opinion, and whatever you choose to do is equally as important. Um, but I kind of evolved to where I just decided the fundraising wasn't really feeding my soul anymore. What was really feeding my soul was connecting with the people that we were having an impact on. Um, and while I say it's stressful and sometimes it's hard, it's also by far the most rewarding, and it's the part that
Mhm.
I enjoy the most. So I actually leave feeling inspired, even if there's been something that's been a little bit challenging maybe in that experience. But I wouldn't change it for the world. And I always think I come out feeling grateful, because it really puts in perspective how much I have, and how much I have to give, I guess.
Right. And that's, when Dana and I went up into the mountains up in Death Valley, and you realize you're just a little speck on the earth. It's
Mm-hmm.
very humbling. But let me back up for a second, because Dana asked me about time, talent, and tenth.
Mm-hmm.
And where that comes from is from church, where they talk about giving tenth of your salary, or you give your time, or you give your talent, the three T's, and some people can give all three. And some people give time and talent. Some people just time. Some people just talent. And so, when you're able to do all three, that's a blessing within it itself. And so that's why it makes you a philanthropist, and caregiver to the people that you service. Dana, you have any more questions for Julie?
Oh, I just wanted to kind of share. So Julie and I grew up together, and then went to college together, and
Mhm.
just been best friends for decades. And so it was so fun to have Julie meet Jackie, and for you guys to become such good friends. And now look at here, we're all here
I
Here we
know.
are.
I love
together,
it.
Yes,
and it's a shared passion of I think all of us, three of us, have is the desire to give back in some capacity. And I just have always been so supportive and just admire Julie for all of her activities. Sometimes she was on five, like active with five charities at once. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's just amazing. But she's over the time introduced me to so many amazing people doing amazing work, and has really inspired me to become to take my volunteerism to the next level. And
Mhm.
so I was just telling Julie the other day, I had Jackie knows too, but I got a phone call on Wednesday afternoon. I was getting ready for our podcast, Jack, and the phone was blowing up. It was the high school where my oldest son Mac went. He does not go there anymore, and the other two boys do not go there. But they needed a chaperone for the Oregon State Thespian Festival, and I still had all my credentials all set up. They just needed to push through one form. And they said, if you can't go, then the kids can't go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the kids have to go to the festival. I mean, these amazing kids. So I got to spend the weekend with all these high school kids down in Salem at the Oregon State Thespian Festival. And I just, they had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time. I was so happy to be able to have the time to give to them so they could.
Absolutely.
So it's
Mhm.
just one of those things, like, that I think is ingrained in all of us, is to give back.
Aren't there other organizations too, Dana, that you work with?
Yeah, I really do a lot of work with Lincoln High School. I was on their board of directors before I got cancer. And then I work with Matt Zabretsky, who is one of our guests on our earlier podcast. He does Playwrights West, which supports young playwrights and young actors. And I've worked with West Sylvan Drama and then the elementary schools. And so I really love public education, and I love working with future leaders.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm inspired too, having retired and kind of pretty much settled in my Petticoat Junction little town here. Um, I'm like 3 blocks from the Senior Citizen Center, and they just approached me the other day about maybe doing some computer classes for the seniors there. I'd love to do that. And so, yeah, Julie, is very inspiring to talk to you, knowing, girl, the stuff that you have been doing in the Portland area. And like I said, I met you 10 years ago, and you're still going
Oh,
strong. Still going strong. Yes, yes, beautiful. You look wonderful.
And
well, thank
quickly, I
you.
want Julie to talk about the Maurice Lucas Foundation, because it is such a wonderful organization, and David does such a great job sharing the legacy of his father, but also giving back to the community. And I think it's a model that we should put in multiple cities throughout the United States, because it brings these young kids up in such an amazing way. But Julie, if you could talk about that real quick, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So the Maurice Lucas Foundation was started in David's dad's name, just because of he wanted his dad's legacy of giving back to the community as a famous NBA, basketball player. It was always a very big passion for him to give back to the kids in his community. So David started this foundation. Their motto is teaching life lessons through sport. And so it's an after school tutor / mentorship program. The kids and it's a middle school level. So we're in a North Portland middle school, and now I've gone into the second middle school. The kids are referred to our program by the teachers. So if the teacher sees that the child could benefit from this program, we'll take them in. It's a 4-day-a-week program. They go after school until 5 o'clock. 2 of those days are tutoring and teaching life skills. So a lot of our kids come from single parent households. The parents working, so they have a lot of alone time and time that they need to manage themselves. So they're teaching things like healthy habits. What are habits? What does it mean if you do this habit versus this habit? Where will how will that determine your life? So in addition to helping academically and then teaching the life skills, 2 days are also spent in athletics. So they're teaching, again, life lessons through sport. They're teaching the 7 pillars of the Maurice Lucas Foundation. So how do you treat people on the court, and how does that spill over into your regular life, and how does that impact your life based on how you treat other people? So it's operating with integrity and honesty, and that kind of thing. So it's a really well-rounded program, and we feel that the middle school age is a very vulnerable age for most kids, and so that's the age that we've chosen. We do follow the kids all the way through high school and then on to college if they choose to do so. We have been chosen by the Brand Jordan um, Foundation, which is Michael Jordan's foundation, as one of 33 nonprofits in the entire United States. They've pared down their list significantly. So because of the results that we've seen with our kids and the number of kids that are going and graduating from high school and then going on to college, we have a really good track record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're
More?
giving us a full ride scholarship once a year for the chosen child to any school that they can get into. So if they can get into an Ivy League school, it will be paid for by Brand Jordan. We are now actually having more than one kid, and they're honoring the more than one child because we're having such success with our
That's
kids going to
wonderful.
school.
That's wonderful, Julie. And like you said, education is extremely important because you can lose all your extremities, but as long as you have your mind and the knowledge within your mind, you can
Mm-hmm.
still function.
Mm-hmm.
So education is very important. And we thank you for that. And I've
Yeah.
got your contact information up if the people want to get more information about the Lucas Foundation or any other organization that you're working with. Your email address is there, and your phone number. Or if there's some first time homeowner buyers that are in the PDX Portland, Oregon area, and they're just frustrated and they need some help, just reach out
Well,
to,
really?
yeah,
Yes.
just reach
Great.
out to
Yeah, yeah.
Julie Peterson. She'll take very good care of you. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Miss Julie.
thank you so much for having me. I really
Yay,
appreciate the
cheers, Julie.
opportunity. It was so great seeing you guys.
Yay, so fun.
Yes.
Virtually. Yes.
Cheers.
We'll have to do it again. And it sounds like, Dana, I'm due a trip out to PDX.
I think so. I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll have to see
And
when there's a Maurice Lucas Foundation event.
oh, yes, for
I could
sure.
go
Would
on
love
that.
to have you guys for the
Oh,
next
that
one.
would be
Yeah, wouldn't that be
wonderful.
fun?
Usually
Yes.
September, October. So yeah, I'll definitely keep you posted.
Okay.
Timing.
And then we got to get
Okay.
to Georgia.
Yes, we're going to work on that.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yes.
Anytime.
Love it.
Love it. So good to see you. Thanks for joining
You
us.
too. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye.
Oh, that was fantastic.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, that
I
was
know.
wonderful to kick
Yeah.
off our April National Volunteer Month.
Yes.
And we've got some really good shows lined up
Yes,
for
we do.
April. Yes, it is philanthropists and caretakers, which are, we talked with a philanthropist, Miss Julie Peterson, and a caregiver because she's giving back to the community. So
Yes.
next
We
week
need
we'll
community.
have a discussion again about volunteerism, and then on the 20th we have some guests lined up to talk about the emotional toll that is on our family members or caretakers when we have to take care of other family members who happen to fall ill with a serious illness and they need a lot of care. And so We're going to be talking about that. And then, Dana, where are we going to be at
New
the end
York
of the
City.
month?
Yes, the big
Going
app.
to New York
That's
City.
right. Here we come. Watch out.
In New York, here we come. And we'll be broadcasting live from New York
Yes.
City on the 29th. I think I put it down as the 29th, Dana.
Yeah.
Not that Wednesday, but a few days after that.
We'll get that going.
After that.
Ryder's birthday Wednesday, and then we fly Thursday, and then the 29th is our first day in New York.
Yes, right. So we would love to hear from you. We would love for you to join our mailing list. Join our mailing list so you can get firsthand knowledge of upcoming events and other things that'll be coming down the pipe with Trip or Change, because we've got some fantastic ideas and some fantastic things lined up. We need you to go out to triplechange.com to sign up for the newsletter. We're on Instagram at triplechange.com, and this video will be available on Wednesday on our YouTube channel, which is Triple Change, along with all the other podcast episodes we have already recorded. So email us, reach out to us, like, comment, and share when you see us on social media platforms. Thank you.
And LinkedIn.
Oh, and LinkedIn.
Back on
We'll
LinkedIn.
have to add that later in terms of where we are on LinkedIn. We just got back on LinkedIn. So
it's new world.
New world. So we'll see you on LinkedIn. Okay. And absolutely thank you to our sponsor, Helpful Essence. Oh, we forgot one thing, Dana.
Oh, we did. Oh,
we did. Hold on just a minute.
Yes.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Ranger Betty Reed Soskin.
Yes.
Okay. Miss Soskin.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but when we were in Death Valley, one of the reasons why we were talking about places to go, and I wanted to, at first we talked about San Francisco, and she was the lead ranger at Rosie the Riveter World War II National Park outside in the Bay Area. And I just was hoping that COVID would be over and hoping to maybe see her because she is just so legendary in her dedication to service, and her story is so unique that she actually became a ranger at age 84, and she is retiring at age 100.
100.
Yes.
Right. And so out on NPR, the oldest Black park, she is Black, oldest park ranger who told the story of Black women in World War II retires at 100. And it's a fantastic story about her life and her history.
Legendary.
What you say, Dana?
She's legendary. Just
legendary. A park ranger. Here it is. Programs: Rosie the Riveter, World War II Home Front National Historic Park in Richmond, California. Okay, she's put in a lot of volunteer time as a park ranger. And you say she started at 84, Dana?
I believe she officially started her ranger job at 84, but she had been very much so involved in the planning of telling the correct history of the World War II, women in World War II that worked in that time, and especially from her perspective and her family's perspective and her friends' perspective from a Black perspective. So it was really important for her, and she has changed and able to share the correct history.
Wow.
Right.
And because you're so interested in visiting national parks, that would have been really up your alley if you had an opportunity to see her. But maybe we could reach out and just send her a congratulation and how much
we do
appreciate her.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Betty, Ranger Betty.
Ranger Betty. Ranger Betty. All right. That's another one under the
We
belt.
did it. Is
We
that our
did
10th?
it.
Is it
This
10?
is number 10.
That's
Number
crazy.
10.
I
Yes.
know. Congratulations, Jackie. This has been great.
Congratulations, Dana Bach.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
And look, the camera looks good.
Lighting looks
The
good. The
lighting looks
nails look great.
good.
Love it.
You love
So
it.
great. And I'm
All
so
right,
excited that
darling.
we reconnected with Julie collectively here and learned about her trip of change and all of her experiences. And it's just very inspiring.
Very inspiring. Like I said, I've been to international places. That's how we was like, "Ooh, let's go here, let's go there." But to be able to be on a mission
Mm-hmm.
and have a specific goal in mind that is going to put a smile on somebody else's face, that is definitely the type of trip of change that we talk about, Dana, because it's not only mental,
Right?
it's physical as well.
Yes. Yes. So I hope that we can make it to Haiti one day.
Oh, man, yes, because I know the history of Haiti. I know
We'll
all about it.
do some
Yes, yes,
podcast about it. Yes. Yes.
yes. So thank you so much, Julie, for being our guest today. And we'll see you next time. And in the meantime, take a trip of change.
As Jack says, keep smiling.
Keep smiling.